live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. Again and again, I keep on sharing certain essential things so that these get completely ingrained in us. What is Tantric sex? Very often it is asked by seekers how often one should engage in sex for the progress, so that the meditation process is not hindered and journey continues. I have again and again explained the significance of Shiva, who gave the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. In Hindu Trinity, Shiva is the only one who is shown with the third eye. He is the symbol of meditation. He is transcendental. That is why he is called Bhairav. And the other centers which we look into, these psycho-spiritual centers, they are dualistic, like male and female. They are connected with one another, the right and the left side of the brain. It is duality, the positive and the negative, the male and female, the yin and yang, Shiva and Shakti. But then there is something which is beyond. So when we look at the first pair of psycho-centers, the earth and the water center, they are connected to one another. They support one another. Then this is the earth center is Mooladhara and Swadhisthana, the earth and the water center. Then the solar plexus and the heart center. Then comes the throat center. But beyond the throat center or the third eye and the thousand petal, they are independent, they are transcendental. Shiva is known as Bhairav, and when you transcend, you enter into a timeless zone. And his another name is Kal. Kal means time and Kal means death also. He is known as Mahakal, the greater aspect of time. The greater time is transcendental, and it's representative. In Japan, there is Shinto religion, and there is a deity called Daiko Kunten. Daiko Kunten is the Japanese deity of fortune and wealth. It originated from Mahakal, which is the Buddhist version of the Hindu deity Shiva, and in Buddhist version it is known as Maheshwar. And it is the native, connected to the native Shinto god Okuni Nushi, and the influence, if you go to Central Asia, specifically Mongolia, and you go to the major shrines and mausoleums, you will see this trident as the symbol on them. You go to the mausoleum of Genghis Khan, who is highly respected in Mongolia. Outside, you can Google this mausoleum and you can see on the structure there is a sign of trident, as well as there is a post with that. The Shiva's third eye, when it gets activated, all that is superficial and unwanted gets vanished. It happened. It is mentioned in the scriptures that Shiva was engaged in meditation, and that time the gods needed some help from him. They wanted an offspring out of him who could destroy the demonic tendencies that were increasing. So they sent God of love to disturb him. So it could not be done. Then finally, when he was disturbed from his meditation, he opened his third eye, and with that the god of love, or Kamdev, got burned. Symbolically, it means the moment third eye opens, the intuition comes into, you reach a state of transcendental intelligence. You know, you can differentiate between what is needed at the moment and what is not, beyond morality or immorality. And then when that intuition develops, that time you are beyond sex, lust, calm, and all those things that are associated with it. Trishna, the desire, the longing, and there is an entire repertoire in that, how the anger comes in, the greed comes in, the lust comes in, and how they are interconnected with one another. It is said when Buddha was meditating that time, the illusion or Mara came along with his daughters and tried to disturb Buddha from his meditation. The question arises in human mind again and again, how often one should indulge in sex in order to help and not to hinder in the process of meditation. The question arises because of misunderstanding. Your act of sex that you have known and tantric sex are basically different. When you engage normally in the act, it is to relieve. It is just like a sneeze, a good sneeze. The energy is thrown out, you are unburdened, but it is destructive. No way it is creative. It is good, it is therapeutic, it helps you to be relaxed and nothing more. Tantric sex act is basically diametrically opposite and different. It is not to give you a relief. It is not to throw the energy. It is to remain in the act without any release of energy or ejaculation. Everybody aspires. In case of a male, there is the orgasm comes through ejaculation. In case of a female, it is orgasm. But in that, energy is thrown out. It is like this. There are ends of the nerves from where the energy moves out. I had mentioned the 3 stages of the sexual union: the square or rectangle, triangle, and a circle. The moment through the act, whether you are doing it on your own or through your spouse, it should form a circle, and there should not be any release of energy, or focus should not be on the release of energy. Release means it is thrown out. But when it circulates, it moves from the area where it is deficient, from the area where it is in abundance. It begins to move in a circle. It is to remain in the act without ejaculation, without throwing out the energy, to remain in the act merged just at the beginning part of the act, not the end part. This changes the entire quality as you were in the beginning when you began the act, and what in the normal sex you begin the act in one way, you end it in release of the energy which is thrown out, and you do not develop the energy within. When the energy is not thrown out, you are as calm as you were in the beginning and in the end. This changes the quality. The complete quality is different then. Your focus is not on the release of the energy. 2 things need to understand. There are 2 types of climaxes, 2 types of orgasm. One type of orgasm is known. You reach to the peak of excitement, then you cannot go any further. The end has come. The excitement reaches to a point where it becomes non-voluntary, and you cannot do anything. The energy jumps into you and goes out. It reaches to a point, and from there it is released. You are relieved, unburdened. The load is thrown out. You can relax and take a sleep. Normally, this is what happens when we enter into the act of sex, and when it is finished, you fall asleep. It is used as a tranquilizer, a natural tranquilizer. A good sleep will follow after that. If your mind is not unburdened, if your mind is not unburdened by religion, otherwise even the tranquilizer is destroyed. Your mind is not burdened by religion only then can sex be a tranquilizer. If you feel guilty, religion means your so-called conditionings which has been put into your mind that sex is wrong. If you have to continue this spiritual journey, you have to abandon it. This makes you feel guilty. Even your sleep will be disturbed then. You will feel depression. You will start condemning yourself, and that how come I cannot control this? The religion says that it is sin and one should not engage into it. Christianity says that we are all born in sin. Why it is born? So that act of sex is sin. Because the birth cannot come without the act of sex, without the interaction of ovum and sperm. So does it mean that the act of sex is sin? So with that conditioning, it becomes difficult, and then you condemn yourself and begin to take oaths that from now onwards you will not indulge anymore. Then your sleep will become a nightmare afterwards, because deep within there is an energy which needs to be flowing. If you are a natural being, not too much burdened by the religion or morality or immorality, only then can sex becomes a tranquilizer for you. This is the first type of orgasm. When you reach to the peak of excitement, Tantra is centered on another type of orgasm. If we call the first type of orgasm as peak orgasm, then you can call the Tantra orgasm as valley orgasm. There is a difference between the two. In it, you are not coming to the peak of orgasm, but to the very deepest valley of relaxation. Excitement has to be used for both in the beginning. That is why I said the beginning both are same, but the end is totally different. In a peak, you reach to the peak, and then the energy is released. You are relaxed, and it begins with an excitement. The tantric act also begins with excitement. You are almost reaching to the peak. You are not holding it. But suddenly, instead of peak, means the energy released, it goes within you. Excitement has to be for both. Either you are going to the peak of excitement or to the valley of relaxation. The peak of excitement, which is a part of normal sex, and valley of relaxation is tantric. For the first, the excitement has to be intense as possible. You have to go into it. You have to help it to grow towards the peak so that it can attain to the peak state. In the second, excitement is just the beginning. And once the man has entered into the excitement, both can relax. No movement is needed. They can relax in a loving embrace, just remaining in that state and relaxed. When the man feels or the woman feels that erection is going to be lost, only then a little movement or excitement is required, but then again relax. So you are beginning to feel that the erection is coming to loosen its effect, little excitement is needed, then you again relax. So it goes into using the two, excitement and relaxation, to create a balance. You are not using the excitement to reach to the top, but for relaxation, this little bit of excitement is also necessary. You can prolong this deep embrace for hours without any release of the energy or ejaculation, and then both can fall into deep sleep together. And this is the valley orgasm. If you are doing it on your own, as has been mentioned into the Kama Sutra by Vatsayan, that the person can go into a self pleasure. You are coming to the peak, suddenly using the breathing, you go into a state of relaxation. So this becomes the valley experience, and valley experience is tantric experience. This is valley experience, and in that, instead of excitement, both are relaxed. It is the merger of two relaxed beings. If you are doing on your own self fulfillment, then you are reaching to the peak. Suddenly you are coming direct down into the valley. In that way the energy is gained, it is not lost. You may not be aware of it, but this is one of the facts of biology, of bioenergy, that man and woman are opposite forces, the negative and positive, yin or yang, or whatever you may call it. They are challenging to one another, and they both meet in a state of deep relaxation, and in that state they rejuvenate one another. They both revitalized each other. They become generators to generate the energy, and both feel livelier, both become radiant. This is what is called ojas. When oj is that kind of a glow that comes onto your face, that is why it is said that once a person is married and have entered into the sex act, specifically the woman, just by looking at that person you can know that this is a married person. Just meeting with the opposite pole, energy is renewed, like the negative and the positive pole in the bulb are their energy is neutralized by the filament that connects the two, which is made of the metal called tungsten, and there is an illumination which you can say ojas. The lighting of the bulb is the merger of the negative and the positive pole, and there is illumination ojas or oj, the light. In other words, you can call it awakening. You can call it the development of the third eye center. The tantric love can be done as much as you like. The ordinary sex act cannot be done as much as you like, because in that you are losing energy, and your body will have to wait to regain the energy. This is what happens when you reach to the state of excitement. Whatever you are doing, you need relaxation. But when it comes to tantric sex, you are in a valley experience, valley orgasm. You are not releasing any energy. Instead, it is being revitalized. It is rechanneled into the other areas. And when you regain it, in the normal sex, energy is lost. You regain it. And when you regain it, again, just like you have had a balanced meal, the effect, the satiation will continue for a certain period of time. After that, you will feel again hungry. So, this hunger or trishna continues. The energy is lost, it regains, again there is a desire arises to go into it. You will only lose it, and you go on losing it again and again each time you enter into the act. It looks absurd. The whole life is spent in this process of gaining and losing, regaining and losing. It becomes an obsession. That is why it is said sex is an obsession. The second thing has to be remembered. You may or may not have observed, when you look at animals, you can never see them enjoying sex. They seem to be very tensed. In intercourse, they are not enjoying themselves. Look at the baboons, monkeys, dogs, or any kind of animals. In their sex act, you cannot see they are feeling blissful or enjoying it. You cannot. It seems to be just a mechanical act, a natural force pushing them towards it. If you have seen monkeys in the act of intercourse, after the intercourse, they separate from one another. Look at their faces. There is no ecstasy in them. It is as if nothing has happened. When the energy forces itself, when the energy is too much, it is released. Look at your man is capable of both experiencing the peak as well as the valley. You look at your normal sex act. After the act is over, in most of the cases, we turn our sides not towards one another, but away from one another and fall asleep. The energy is released. You can fall asleep. So the husband turns on this side, wife turns on the other side, and they sleep. The ordinary sex act is just like this. But moralists have been saying quite the contrary. They say do not indulge, do not enjoy. They say this is as animals do. This is wrong. Animals never enjoy. Only man has the capacity to enjoy sex. And the deeper you can enjoy, higher kind of humanity is born. And if your sex act can become meditative, ascetic, that very moment the highest has touched you. This is why it is said Jesus is born out of Virgin Mary. This is a symbol, a parable, a way of saying that. But you understand it according to your own understanding, your own level of cognition, because you cannot see what does celibacy, why it is said Jesus was born out of a virgin mother. And that is why there is a concept of Holy Ghost. Holy Ghost represents that meditative, ecstatic state, meditative state in which Jesus, Joseph and Mary were at that moment. In that state of meditativeness, which is symbolized by Holy Ghost, the Holy Ghost entered into that. The meditative state entered. The act was not like an ordinary act. It was a tantric act of valley experience. Someone want to know how does the masters enter into the act with their spouse? Through this way. The way Joseph and Mary entered into the act and Holy Ghost comes in, the meditative state comes in. Each time when the master enters into act as a part of life, whosoever it is, I am not calling the name, one who has asked the question, you will know it. What do I mean and what did he ask? It is the higher consciousness or meditative state has entered into you. Christianity says it outrightly that the Holy Ghost entered. Jesus and Mary were in a state of higher was touched in a state of meditativeness. It was not an ordinary act, the peak experience. Instead, it was valley experience. Whether you are almost reaching to the peak level, but sometimes you say that I do not want to scream or create those kind of things for people to hear that I am at the peak. So you hold on. You don't hold on. Automatically you will come down to the valley experience. But remember, Tantra is the Tantra experience, the valley orgasm. It is not a peak experience, it is the valley experience in which Jesus was born. That is why it is said Jesus was born out of Virgin Mary. In the West, Abraham Maslow has made this term, introduced a term, peak experience, very famous. You go into excitement towards the peak and then you fall. That is why after every sex act, you feel there is a downfall, and it is natural. You are falling from a peak. You will never feel that after the tantric experience, So those who have slightest experience of tantric sex, they will know that they are not falling from there. There is kind of an illumination of a different nature. You cannot fall any further because you have been in the valley. You can fall from a height. Peak is a height. You can fall from there. And from the valley, you are rising. When you come back after a tantric act, you have risen. The sun has risen. And that's why there is a glow, there is urge. You feel filled with energy, more vital, more alive, more radiant, and that ecstasy will last for hours and hours. In case of the prophets and the masters, it lasts lifelong. Even for days. It depends on how deeply you were in it, how meditative you were in. If you move into it, sooner or later you will realize that ejaculation or the so-called orgasm is wastage of energy. There is no need of it unless it is needed for children. That is why it is said that enter into the sex act only when there is a need for children. And with the tantric sex experience, you will feel a deep relaxation whole day. Those who have experienced it slightly, or they have gone into the self pleasure activities, they will feel full of energy, energized for the whole day. One tantric experience, and even for days you will feel relaxed. One tantric act and you will feel relaxed for a long period of time. And what happens? You will be at ease, at home, non-violent, non-angry, not depressed. Out of normal sex, the violence, anger, depression remains your way of life. But after tantric experience, which is valley orgasm, you reach to the state that is, it may happen sometimes, traces you will get when you have really into it and gone into it. There will be no question of depression, violence, anger. That's why at times people ask me, how do I manage all these things and yet still remain relaxed? How do I remain in that? That type of person is never a danger to others. If he can, he will help others to be happy, help others to evolve, and the sole purpose of his life is how to bring more joy, happiness, transformation in the life of others. Because he has experienced that within him, he is the embodiment of that, and he is creating the situation for others to experience that state. He will not make anyone unhappy. That is not his way. Only Tantra can create a new man. And that new man is Son of God, is not the born out of sex. When sex becomes, this does not mean is a miracle, as the cognition level of Christians is saying that Jesus was born out of Virgin Mary. Yes, I will say that also, but I know how it happened. You do not know, so you cannot say it. And this man who can know, who enters the state of timelessness, egolessness, and non-duality with existence, will grow. A new dimension of timelessness, egolessness has opened. It is not far away. The day is not very far away when sex act will completely disappear. When sex disappears without your knowledge, when suddenly one day you realize that sex has disappeared completely and there is no lust, then celibacy is born in you. It looks arduous because too much false teaching goes around that we are all born out of sin. No. I have heard the Christian missionaries come from house to house and say things, give the message. So one such set of Christian missionaries came to the house of one person that I have known. He said, you know, we are all born in sin. So this person said, maybe you are born out of sin. When I was born, my father and mother were married. That was his terse response, to which they did not have any reply, because they are trained to speak in a particular way. Whatever they have known, only they know that. If you ask or question them, they cannot stand in front of you. The same thing happens with not only with Christian missionaries, but even those who propagate the message of Bhagavad Gita. They will tell you everything is in Bhagavad Gita. Your problems, Bhagavad Gita is the solution. But they do not know, understand even the first verse. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samveta Yuyusava Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Kuruvat Sanjay. The blind king asks the question. They do not know why at the end of each chapter it is written what it is. I will explain that another time. What are the different dimensions of Bhagavad Gita? Different dimensions of it. When I say something, I am speaking in a multi-dimensional manner. You will grasp it according to your cognition. There is a rainfall, and you put the different pots, each will capture the water, collect the water according to its own capacity. A glass of water will not, a cup will not collect the water that a pitcher can collect, because the capacity of the two is different. The same way every individual has a different cognitive level, and he understands and grasps the subject matter according to his own cognitive intelligence. A primary school child can understand things only his way, not the way of the others. I had given this example again and again. I had an opportunity once. A 5-year-old child asks how children are born. I could not give him the right answer. I could not tell him the false stories that when the mother is sleeping, the angels put the baby by the mother, and that's how the children are born. So I have to look at what is the level, cognitive level of that child, of that person, and accordingly say things to him. So 5-year-old child, I said, you go to school? Yes, I go. What is that you learn in the school? He said, different things I learn. So I asked him, what is your favorite subject that you learn? He said, I like agriculture very much. Right? What you do in agriculture? You are asking the person the question and trying to see how, using his level of cognition to explain your matter. What you do in agriculture? Yes, during the agriculture class, the teacher tells us, we take a pot, we take the soil, mix it up with fertilizer, put it in the flower pot, and then we water it and leave it. I said, and nothing else? He said, no, the class is for a certain period of time. In one class, we can only do one thing. And then what you do? So next class, the teacher comes and tells us, now he checks the soil. He said the soil is mixed with fertilizer. It has the moisture in it. Now the time has come to plant the seed. So children, take the seed and plant it. How you have to plant it? You have to make a hole in the soil and put the seed into it and cover it up. But you do not have to press it, just cover it. Right. I got the answer. What is the cognitive level of this child? I said, exactly like this children are born. The mother has the soil, fertilized soil. She has the flower pot where the soil is, and the father has the seed. So when the soil is ready, the father puts the seed into it. And then the seed grows and becomes a plant. So the same way the child is born. He said, I was thinking like that, but nobody agreed with me. Now, this was the cognitive level of that 5-year-old child. Now, if you look at it here, how the soil of the mother is prepared, it is the ovum. She has ovulated, whatever the word is. And then when the sperm, the seed in the form of a sperm interacts with that, the fertilization begins. So in the same way, you can explain to the person according to his cognitive capability. Tantra is the only one that can create a new man, and this man who is the only one who knows what is timelessness, what is egolessness, and there is a deep non-duality with the existence grows. The dimension is opened. We will continue this in next session. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.